Alright folks, what the shit is a TS-60 Special Tier 9 American tank destroyer on the Supertest? Practically an evolved version of a Chrysler K, with better sloping on the upper plate and bigger gun. It's a 120, not a 105, but alright, I'll take it. It could be a heavy tank, but it's a tank destroyer. Fine. I mean, it looks like a cross of a Chrysler K with a 𝘊𝘳𝘺𝘺𝘆, especially for the sponson supporting the turret ring. So this is jutting out, might be a weak spot like with the VK, but better sloping on the upper plate, not as thick as the 150 on the Chrysler K, and 120mm, so more punch to this gun compared to the 105, but yeah, it's like a tier 9 version of a Chrysler K. I'll take it. I mean, this vehicle was a menace, so this could be also a menace. Could be assault tank destroyer, so like a Doom Turtle practically. But let's take a look at the stats. So 120mm with 258mm of pen, so good enough, pretty good for a heavy tank. Not good for a tank destroyer, but it has a lot of DPM. 8 seconds of reload without a rammer, without a 100% crew. So on paper, this is about 3000 DPM with 400 alpha behind it. Pretty good as a heavy tank. I mean, accuracy is not the best, but it's about 0.4 with a 100% crew, so it's workable. And aim time is quick, real quick. So it's like the TS5 in a sense at tier 8. Good DPM, good aim time, garbage accuracy. Spamming a lot of shells at close range, but 7 degrees of gun depression, surprisingly, for a rear mounted turret, and 20 elevation. It is a non-fully traversable turret, so only 136 degrees per side. So it's still pretty wide. It's still very good compared to something like, I don't know, regularly fixed T-28s or the Doom Turtle, obviously, but it is about the same as the T-28 prototype at tier 8. 40 rounds of the 120 and crew of 5 fits all the American heavy tanks or tank destroyers without the radio operator. You don't have the radio operator at high tier, I don't think. Mobility wise, 35 is the average hallmark of American heavy tanks and tank destroyers, so not the fastest, but horsepower per ton ratio is not bad, 15.5. It is not as good as the 20 on the Chrysler K, but I mean, if it has 20, then it's still pretty big of a menace at tier 9. Hull traverse is alright, 28 degrees per second. Turret traverse is kind of slow, but then again, it's a tank destroyer, so you don't usually turn that quick. And you do have enough angles to prevent circle strafing, hopefully. But 1600 health, alright, for a TD. Could use more if it's assault TD, like 2000 per se, as on the Tortoise, or on the Yak Tiger as well. But 120 at the hull front, 80 at the hull sides, and 300 at the turret front, with a small commander cupola, or like the Chrysler K, might be well armored, we'll have to see. View range 380, good enough, but not the best. Radio is standard. On paper, it's like a TS5 with a turret in the back and lots of DPM. A lot of DPM, holy crap. Without a rammer, with 100% crew, it's 3130 and 0.4 accuracy. I mean, accuracy is kind of garbage. You could put the enhanced gunner sights to help out with that, but aim time is quick, 7 degrees of gun depression, and a wide arc of your pseudo turret, or not fully traversable turret, but the only downside is the accuracy for the gun, and you can help that out with equipment and fuel modifications, so it's not that big of a problem. But this thing has A lot of DPM. I mean, it's not as crazy as a Tortoise per se. Tortoise has like what, 3,500? But still, it's good. The only downside is you don't have that much health to work with, so you cannot take the hit like the Tortoise. And the upper plate armor is debatable. It is well sloped, but it is only 120 compared to the 150 with a not as steeper of an angle, so duller of an angle for the upper plate, but it's 150 on the Chrysler K. And what's scary about this vehicle is the horsepower per ton ratio combo with the armor. It is fast to rev up. Top speed is not as good, so you could put the turbocharger or the new experimental equipment with the mobility stuff, but yeah. You can also have this little weird spot, spunson, for the turret ring. That might be a problem when you're side scraping. So this is the same problem with the VK7201K for the Germans. So usually for something like the VK45s, not that big of a problem. You don't have that sponson at the sides. You don't have that. But if you're playing the tier 10 version, oh god. Take off the skin. It is way too much. Take it off. Alright, so if you're playing with the tier 10 version, the sponson at the sides juts out, as you can see right there. So you can easily shoot right here and pin the sponsons underneath the turret ring. So that is the main weak spot for this kind of design, if you will. But on the VK, it's like, what? Oh, let's just take a look. God, the holiday skin. Let's just take a look at the actual armor on the VK. So yes, it is a good side armor, but with this, it's only 240-ish. So that is the main weak spot while side scraping of these type of designs. So don't really rely on your side scraping unless your opponents are ignorant or missing out the fact that you actually shoot here. So, or just expose your frontal plate and let them shoot the frontal plate. Don't even expose the side armor, right? But it is a tank destroyer. It's not a heavy tank per se. So, I mean, we're getting some decent high tier American tank destroyers, but it is classified as a Doom Turtle assault tank destroyer, not the versatile T-30. Yeah, there's a little bit of a difference for field modification, but it's alright. Camo is that of a heavy medium tank. I mean, it's not as bad as a heavy tank, but it's not that good. And view range is alright, 380. I mean, it's still better than the Nerf T95 on the common test. Ah, that is stupid. Don't bring that up. Makes me sad. Alright. Kura 5, yada yada. Large braces for the back of the vehicle. It's like a M53-55 brace. You don't need that for that caliber of a gun, do you? That's weird. Alright, fine. Shell velocity is decent for AP round. For standard, 1,150 meters per second. High explosive anti-tank is a little bit slower, but pens more. So the trade-off, high explosive is the slowest, but alright. Just take like 3 or 5 rounds of high explosive. 40 rounds is decent enough. I will want like 50 rounds if I spam too much, but 40 is fine. It's not a premium. Ah, unfortunate. It's only a special tank. Fine. 120mm, the T123E2. This is the medium tank gun on the patent hybrid that we already covered like years ago. The patent with the T-54's turret. That's a gun. Alright, fine, whatever. It's a heavy tank gun or medium tank gun, but 300mm for the turret front. Small-ish of a commander cupola in the center. So it could be like with the Chrysler K. And the Chrysler K has a real troll-ish of a cupola design. So where the hell's my Chrysler K? There it is. So with this vehicle, yes, the commander cupola looks somewhat big than standard, but it is rounded. It is 177. So you have to hit dead on, square in the center, and it's 240 effective. So practically immune to some tier 7s and some tier 8s. So it's a very trollish of a cupola design, even though it looks kind of big. that could be applied to this vehicle. So that could be a buff or a plus for this thing. It weighs about 55 tons, yada yada. So it's like a heavy tank, practically. Alright, I mean, let's talk equipment, but there's nothing really out of the ordinary other than the high DPM, the good aim time, the below average accuracy, decent enough penetration for a heavy tank. Not really a tank destroyer, but yeah, 15-ish horsepower per ton ratio. Fine. Yeah, nothing really out of the ordinary, but let's talk equipment. So it's like with the Doom Turtle, but for Doom Turtles, they are slow, and therefore I kit them out with a repair kit or the repair toolbox thingy-majig. So helps out with the track repair if you get detracked, but this thing should be more like a T30 in my opinion. So you could put a rammer, obviously, rammer is definitely one of them. You could put the enhanced gunner sights or improve aiming. This will help out with the garbage accuracy. And vents for the field modification boost in the second slot. You could put a turbocharger to make it go a little bit faster if you're saucy, but we have to see the actual soft stats with dispersion and terrain resistance. Might be a grouser, would be a little bit better, so that's dependent on soft stats. But the downside to playing a tank destroyer is you cannot put a vertical stabilizer on this thing. Now you could put the new mobility improvement system, which also helps out with dispersion. So this thing could replace the second slot, and this thing will actually buff your top speed. So this is not bad, but you have to put a lot of resource into this thing compared to just a vent or something else. But yeah, it's assault heavy tank practically. Yeah, no vertical stabilizer for this thing, but hopefully dispersion won't be too bad, hopefully. And let's talk field modification. So the same as the Doom Turtle, not the same as the Versatile, it's assault tank destroyer. So basically the first three are practically all the same other than the last one, but obviously choose better reinforced suspension. This is such a big red herring when I look at it. Yeah, you look having better hull traverse speed than actual terrain resistance or suspension durability. This is a big no-no. So what I'm talking about all these years is, if you take a look at something like a Doom Turtle, if we turn on field modifications, choosing the first one will give you better effective traverse, even though on paper it looks worse, right? It looks worse on paper, but effectively you have better traverse because of terrain resistance. If you choose the second one from just baseline, you get actually worse stats out of all of them. Worse traverse, worse top speed going over mud, and even worse health for the tracks. So you get even more detract more often. Yeah, the second one is big no-no. It's a big red herring, big misleading garbage. Choose the first one. Always choose the first one. Definitely. Alright, accuracy or aim time. For this vehicle, definitely better accuracy. You already have good enough aim time, right? Good enough. So choose better accuracy at the cost of aim time. Yeah, I even choose it for the 155 on the Doom Turtle. Surprising, huh? Alright, next up is view range or concealment after firing. It's not before firing. So concealment after firing is already garbage. You already have a rapid firing gun, so don't even expect anything out of it. Choose better view range, right? Choose better view range. And finally, it's health and protection of the crew or reload time. Now, reload time is not that dramatic, in my opinion. It only gives you about 100 more DPM, which is not crazy. But if you get the health, which is somewhat small too, health is only like what, 50 health? The most important thing out of all this is the crew protection from injuries. That's a big one, 20%. So would you trade like 100 DPM for 20% buff to your crew protection? Definitely if you're playing assault tank destroyer. You'll get hit by a high explosive from artillery, you get hit and you get pinned. Sometimes your crews will be knocked out, and that will be a bad spot. So Yeah, for the last one, you're buffing the DPM by like what, 70 on the Doom Turtle. Let's see if you're using the 120, if there's a difference. Not really. It's almost 100, but still, I don't think it's worth that much for a better 20% crew protection. So, yeah, DPM is not the craziest thing out of the world, especially not like 500 or 1000 more DPM. Yeah, better crew protection, right? Better crew protection. So overall, I think this vehicle is a good heavy tank. The downside to it is it doesn't have as much health as a Tortoise, definitely. So not really assault tank destroyer as you would normally think. I mean, the Doom Turtle has 1,800, so 200 more health. And let's see, Doom Turtles and the Tortoise tank destroyers assault at tier 9. Yak-Tiger has a lot too. Oh, 2,100 for the Yak-Tiger, which is a butt ton, and 2,000 for the Tortoise. How much is the Contra-Caro? 1,900. So you're going up against some vehicles, some tank destroyers with a lot of health. It has less health than the 263. Huh. So not really. I don't think the health is that big of a deal, but still kind of a downside that you don't have as much health as a Tortoise or a Doom Turtle or even a Yak-Tiger for that matter. But you have very good DPM. I mean, it's good. It is real good. Downside to that is penetration is a little bit wonky, so you're close range, heavy tank, and you're not the fastest of the bunch, but well, then again, these vehicles are not that fast. Not really. Not really when I think about it. So you're more mobile, but it's no TL7. TL7 is a medium tank disguised as a tank destroyer, so that's a whole different ballpark. Yeah, we have this thing on the Asian server. It is a premium, but it is a medium tank. It's not a tank destroyer. It's disguised, so it has an autoloader too. But would you rather play with this thing, or would you rather play with a Chrysler K hybrid or evolved Chrysler K? Holy crap, it's almost double the DPM of the TL7. Holy crap. Oh my word. I mean, it's at least like what, 80% more DPM? I mean, it's not as fast as the TL7 by all means, but it has better armor. Definitely better armor than the TL7. Camo is almost the same. View range, 370. That's gross. So yeah, this thing has better view range than a TL7. How the hell would I rate this thing out of a 10? It's good. It's no sniper. It's no assault gun. Downside is accuracy, health, some of the mobility, and that's practically it. You can spam all the gold shell in the world, but it's not premium, so kind of negates the gold shell spam. I still think it's good. It's a 7. Definitely a 7. I think out of the average, you'll be surprised by this vehicle. Now, it's also dependent on the armor, so we have to wait for the common test to see the actual armor profile, but if the armor holds up, especially for the sponson on the turret ring, then I would say this thing is like a 7.5, getting close to an 8. I mean, with that DPM and with the playstyle of a heavy tank, depending on the cupola armor, depending on the sponson armor, as well as the lower plate, I would say this thing is a 7.75 on average, so pretty decent. Nothing really bad about it for now, other than the health. Health is not that much. I mean, if you're worried about the health, put the hardening stuff. Put the equipment for more health, but for a tank destroyer, I still think you will want something else, boosting up the actual DPM or firepower of the vehicle, but you could snipe if you have the improved aiming on the vehicle, so you could be saucy and camp at 300 meters or something, but if you have the armor, you could do that. Yeah, 7.75 out of 10. It's pretty good. So there you go, folks. The TS60, kind of an evolution of a Chrysler K as a tank destroyer at tier 9. It's good, but we'll have to see. So as always, thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.